Fire, always fire. A cabin burning in the night. The sound of splitting timber echoing through silence. A man standing 30 yards away, too far to save anyone, close enough to hear everything screams. Then nothing. Ash falling like snow. 8 years later, the same man walks into a town he's been avoiding. In his pocket, a silver dollar. In his chest, a death that hasn't arrived yet, but fate has other plans, a $1 deal. A giant woman hiding in shadows, a secret worth killing for. And the hunters have already come. Sometimes redemption doesn't come from the light. It comes from a man already dead inside, learning to fight for something bigger than himself. Sometimes giants aren't the monsters. They're the ones who need protecting most. 8 years. That's how long Cormac Brennan had been dead. Not literally, his heart still beat. His lungs still pulled mountain air. His hands still knew how to skin a deer and start a fire in the rain. But the part of him that laughed, the part that sang, the part that reached for someone in the dark. Gun burned away the same night his cabin went up in flames, with his wife and daughter inside. He stood now at the edge of Silverstone, Montana, a town he'd avoided for 8 years. A town that still remembered him as the man who'd lost everything. The main street stretched before him, dusty, tired. Buildings leaning into each other like old drunks. Mac pulled his hat lower, kept his eyes down, walked the general store, the saloon, the post office, all the same, all still standing while his family turned to ash. He didn't stop until he reached the building at the end of the street. Small, narrow, a painted sign hanging, crooked above the door, Ernest Wade. Attorney at law. Mac pushed the door open. The bell rang. An old man looked up from behind a desk buried in papers. 65 at least. Maybe older. Gray hair thin enough to see scalp. Hands that trembled as he set down his pen, Mr. Brennan. The old man's voice carried no surprise. I was wondering when you'd come. Mac closed the door behind him. You sent word I did. So here I am. Ernest Wade stood, slowly, like his bones might break if he moved too fast. He gestured to a chair across from his desk. Mac didn't sit. You said you had property to sell, Mac said. Land. Cheap Blackwater Ranch. Ernest opened a drawer, pulled out a folder. 100 acres. Good water. Decent grazing. Main house needs work, but it's standing. How much? Ernest set the folder on the desk between them. $1. Mac stared at him. The old man didn't blink. $1. Mac repeated. That's right, for 100 acres. Yes, Mac crossed his arms. What's wrong with it? Nothing's wrong with it. Then why? Ernest's hands trembled worse now. He pressed them flat against the desk. Because I need someone particular. Someone who won't run at the first sign of trouble. Trouble. The kind that doesn't announce itself with a knock on the door. Mac studied the old man's face, the lines around his eyes. The way his jaw worked like he was chewing words he couldn't quite spit out. You're not telling me something, Mac said. I'm telling you enough. Ernest pushed the folder forward. The land is yours for $1 if you agree to one condition, which is, you don't evict the current resident. Silence. Mac's eyes narrowed. Someone's living there. Yes. You didn't mention that. I'm mentioning it now. Who? Ernest shook his head. That's not my story to tell. Then I'm not interested. Mac turned toward the door. She's been there 4 years, Ernest said. Quiet. Almost a whisper. Hiding. From men who would kill her if they found her. Mac stopped, his hand on the doorknob. Why should I care? He asked. Because you understand what it's like to lose everything. Ernest's voice cracked. And because I'm dying. Cancer. 6 months if I'm lucky. I need to know someone will protect her when I'm gone. Mac didn't turn around. I'm not a protector, he said. You were a good man once. Once, maybe you still are. Mac stood there, his hand on that doorknob. The mountain calling him back. The quiet, the solitude. The slow death he'd been living for 8 years. But something in the old man's voice. Desperation. Yes, but also hope, which was worse. He turned, walked back to the desk, pulled out a chair. Sat $1, he said. Ernest almost smiled. Almost. He opened the folder, pulled out a contract, 2 pages. simple language. No hidden clauses, except the one about the resident. Mac read it twice, then pulled a silver dollar from his pocket, set it on the desk. Ernest slid the contract forward with a pen. Mac signed. His handwriting sharp, angry. Cormac M. Brennan. Ernest countersigned as witness. Then handed Mac a deed and a key. "The ranch is 10 miles northwest," Ernest said. "Follow the creek road past the old sawmill. You'll see the fence." Mac stood, folded the deed, pocketed the key. "This resident," he said. "She dangerous?" Ernest looked up at him, and for the first time Mac saw something in those old eyes that wasn't just sadness. "Fear, no," Ernest said. "But the men hunting her are." The fence came first, weathered wood, gray as bone. Posts leaning at angles that shouldn't hold but somehow did, barbed wire sagging between them like spider silk. Mac reined his horse to a stop, looked out over 100 acres of tall grass and scattered pines. A creek cutting silver through the eastern edge. Hills rising purple in the distance, beautiful. In a broken kind of way, he clicked his tongue. His horse moved forward, through a gate hanging on one hinge, down a rutted path that might have been a road once. The main house sat in a clearing half a mile in. 2 stories, logs dark with age, roof patched with mismatched shingles, a porch that sagged on one side like a stroke victim's face. Mac dismounted, tied his horse to a post that looked like it might hold, stood there listening, whined in the grass. A crow somewhere. The creek mumbling to itself. Nothing else. He walked toward the house, boots loud on the packed earth, hand resting casual on his belt, close to the knife he carried, not close enough to look threatening. The porch steps creaked under his weight. He stopped at the door, knocked. No answer. Knocked again. Nothing. He tried the handle, locked it. Mac pulled out the key Ernest had given him, slid it into the lock. The tumblers clicked. The door swung open, and he smelled it immediately. Bread, fresh bread, someone had been baking. Recently. The scent still warm in the air. Mac stepped inside. The main room stretched before him. Fireplace on the left, table and chairs on the right. A kitchen area in the back with a cast-iron stove. Everything clean, too clean for an abandoned house. The furniture was wrong, too. The table sat higher than normal. The chairs built for someone taller. And there, against the wall, a bed, massive, 8 feet long at least, maybe more, built from rough timber like someone had constructed it by hand. Mac's jaw tightened. What the hell? A sound above him, the footsteps slow, deliberate, the floorboards groaning under weight. Mac looked up the ceiling, the footsteps stopped silent. He could feel eyes on him. Someone listening. Someone deciding, "I'm not here to hurt you," Mac called out, his voice steady, calm, the voice he'd used with spooked horses. "I'm the new owner. Ernest Wade sold me this place." "Nothing, I know you're up there," Mac said. "And I know Ernest told you I was coming." More silence. Then, a door opened somewhere above. The footsteps started again. Coming toward the stairs, Mac stepped back, gave himself space, kept his hands visible. The stairs were at the far end of the room. Narrow, steep, built for function, not comfort. A shadow moved at the top, then she appeared, and Mac's breath stopped. She was enormous, 7.5 feet tall, had to duck her head to fit through the doorway. Shoulders broad as a man's, arms thick with muscle that came from work, not vanity. But her face young, 20-something, maybe younger. Red-brown hair pulled back in a loose bridge braid, green eyes wide with fear, wearing a simple dress, homespun fabric, patched in places, hanging to her ankles. She stood at the top of the stairs, looking down at him, and Mac realized he was staring. He forced his mouth closed, forced himself to breathe. "You're," he stopped, started again. "You're the resident." Her voice came out quiet, musical almost, at odds with her size. "You're going to shoot me, aren't you?" Not a question. A statement of fact. Mac lowered his hand from his belt, held both hands out. "Palm up?" "No," he said. "I don't shoot women. Most men would. I'm not most men." She studied him, those green eyes moving over his face, reading him the way you read tracks in snow. "Ernest sent you," she said. "He sold me this ranch." "For how much?" Mac almost smiled. $1. Something flickered in her eyes. Surprise, maybe. Or relief. He told you about me, she said. He told me someone was living here. He didn't mention. Mac gestured vaguely at her. At all of her. That I'm a monster. I didn't say that. You were thinking it. I was thinking you're tall. She descended one step. The stairs creaked like they might give way. I'm Willa, she said. Willa Ashford, Mac Brennan. Another step down. Are you going to make me leave? She asked. Contract says I can't evict the current resident. Ernest put that in writing. He did. Willa came down another step. Then another, moving carefully. Like someone who'd learned to be gentle in a world not built for her. When she reached the bottom, she stood 10 feet away. Close enough to talk. Far enough to run if she needed to. This close Mac could see details. The calluses on her hands. The flour dusting her dress. A scar on her left forearm. Long and white and old. You have questions, she said. I have a lot of questions. I'll answer what I can. Mac walked to the table. Pulled out a chair. Sat, gestured to the chair across from him. Willa hesitated. Then moved to the table. She didn't sit. Couldn't. The chair was too small, even though it was bigger than any chair Mac had ever seen. Instead, she stood, looking down at him. And Mac realized how vulnerable he was. How easily she could hurt him if she wanted to. But he didn't reach for his knife. How long have you been here? He asked. 4 years. Why? Because men want to kill me. What men? Men who killed my father. Mac leaned back. Keep talking? She told it simply. No drama, no tears. Just facts laid out like cards on a table. Her father. Henry Ashford, doctor and prospector. A man who'd spent 20 years searching for gold in Montana's hills. And 10 years ago he'd found her instead. I was 16, Willa said. She stared at the wall behind Mac's head. Not meeting his eyes, working for a traveling show. They called it a circus, but it was really just a freak show. Mac said nothing. They bought me from an orphanage when I was 6, she continued. Already 5 feet tall. The doctors said I had some kind of condition. Made me grow and grow. They didn't know how big I'd get. The show knew, Mac said quietly. They knew exactly what I'd become. Willa's jaw tightened. They kept me in a cage. Fed me enough to stay alive. Let people pay a nickel to stare. Called me the giantess, the mountain girl, the freak of nature. She stopped, swallowed hard. My father bought me, she said. Paid them $500, which was more than I'd make them in 10 years. They thought he was crazy, was he? No, for the first time she smiled, small. Sad. He was kind. He took me to his cabin, taught me to read, to write, to think of myself as a person instead of a thing. Mac watched her face. The way memory softened the fear in her eyes. He gave me a life, Willa said. A real life. For 10 years I was happy, and then? The softness vanished. 4 years ago my father found gold, Willa said. A big strike, on this land. Blackwater Ranch. Mac looked around the room. This was his property. He bought it from the bank. Cheap. They thought it was worthless. But my father knew better. He'd been studying the geology for years. He knew where to look, and he found it. A vein of gold as thick as my arm. Willa's hands curled into fists. Running through the hills north of here. Enough gold to make him rich. Enough to set us up for life. But he didn't get the chance. No, Mac waited. Willa walked to the window. Looked out at the late afternoon sun slanting through the pines. Word got out, she said, the way it always does. And the Maddox brothers heard. Who are they? Thomas and Clayton Maddox. She said their names like curses. They own half the territory. Mines, timber, land, and they take what they want. They wanted your father's gold. They came to him first. Polite, civilized, offered to buy his claim for pennies on the dollar. My father refused. Mac could see where this was going. They killed him, Willa said. Flat, empty. Made it look like an accident. A cave-in at the mine. But I found evidence. Blasting powder that wasn't my father's. Drill marks in the support beams. They rigged it to collapse when he went down for his afternoon inspection. Did you go to the law? Willa laughed. Bitter. The law works for the Maddox brothers, the sheriff, the judge, half the town council. My father's death was ruled accidental within a week, and the mine, they forged papers, claimed my father owed them money, claimed they had a legal right to the claim. Within a month, they owned everything. She turned from the window. Looked at Mac, except they didn't own everything, she said. Because my father was smart. He made 2 sets of documents. The real deed to the mine. The real survey maps, showing where the gold is. He kept them hidden. And when he died, I found them. Mac straightened in his chair. You have proof the Maddox brothers forged their claim. I have everything. Willa walked to the fireplace, knelt down. Her fingers found a loose stone in the hearth. She pried it up, reached into the space beneath, pulled out a leather pouch. She stood, walked back to the table, set the pouch down in front of Mac. He opened it. Inside, papers, yellow with age, folded carefully. He spread them out. A deed, signed by Henry Ashford, dated 5 years ago, stamped by the county clerk, survey maps. Hand-drawn, detailed, showing elevation lines and geological markers, and a thick vein of gold running through the northern hills. A letter, written in a careful hand, addressed to my daughter Willa. Mac read the first few lines. If you're reading this, I'm dead. The Maddox brothers will come for the mine. They'll forge papers. They'll claim I owed them money. Don't believe them. These documents are the truth. Guard them with your life, and when the time is right, show them to someone who can't be bought. Mac looked up at Willa. Why didn't you take these to the law in another territory? He asked. Because I tried. Her voice went hard. I made it as far as Helena. Had an appointment with a federal marshal. But the Maddox brothers have people everywhere. Someone recognized me, sent word ahead. By the time I got to Helena, there were men waiting. You ran, I ran. Barely made it out alive. Came back here. To the one place they'd never think to look. An abandoned ranch, my father's ranch. Willa's eyes glistened. The place he was happiest. I've been here ever since. 4 years. Ernest Wade brings me supplies once a month. Tells people he's checking on the property for the bank. Mac gathered the papers. Folded them. Put them back in the pouch. And now? He asked. Now that I'm here? Now I don't know. Willa sat down on the floor. Cross-legged. Because there was no furniture big enough for her. Ernest said he found someone who could help. Someone brave enough and stubborn enough to stand against the Maddox brothers. She looked at Mac. Is he right? She asked. Are you that someone? Mac wanted to say no. Wanted to tell her he was nobody's hero, that he'd come here to die quietly. Not to fight someone else's war. But he looked at her sitting there. This woman who'd spent her childhood in a cage, who'd found a father only to lose him, who'd been running and hiding for 4 years. And he saw his wife, not literally, but the same quiet strength. The same stubborn refusal to break even when the world did its worst. The same need for someone, anyone, to stand beside her. Mac stood, walked to the door. Willa's face fell. You're leaving? No, he turned. I'm getting my horse. If I'm staying here, I need to bring in my gear. You're staying? I paid $1 for this ranch. Mac opened the door. That means you work for me now. I don't take charity cases, but I also don't leave people to fight alone. Willa stood, so fast she nearly hit her head on a ceiling beam. I can work, she said quickly. I can fix things, build things, I'm strong. Can you cook? She blinked. What? Cook? Food. I haven't had a decent meal in 8 years. Yes, I can cook. Then we'll figure out the rest. Mac stepped onto the porch. Stopped. Looked back at her. One rule, though. What? If those men come here. If there's trouble, you don't argue, you don't hesitate. You do exactly what I say. Willa's chin lifted. Stubborn? I'm not helpless. I didn't say you were. But I've been in fights. You haven't. You don't know that. Have you ever killed a man? Silence. That's what I thought, Mac said. So when the time comes, you listen. Understood? Willa nodded slowly. Mac walked off the porch, toward his horse. Behind him, he heard Willa whisper, "Thank you." He didn't answer. Just untied his horse and led it toward the barn, because he hadn't done anything worth thanking yet. And he wasn't sure he could. They ate dinner in silence. Willa had made stew, Venison and potatoes and carrots. Simple but good. Better than anything Mac had cooked for himself in years. She served it in bowls that looked like small buckets. Ate with a spoon that could have doubled as a ladle. Mac ate at the table. Willa sat on the floor. It should have been awkward. But somehow it wasn't. There was something peaceful about the quiet, the sound of spoons scraping bowls, the fire crackling in the hearth. When they finished, Mac stood, carried his bowl to the wash basin. "I'll take the barn," he said. Willa looked up. "What, the barn?" "I saw a loft." "That'll work fine." "You don't have to sleep in the barn. I'm not taking your bed. There's space." "I can. I'm sleeping in the barn." Mac's tone left no room for argument. "You've been here 4 years. This is your home." "I'm just visiting." Willa stood. "For how long?" "I don't know. Days? Weeks? However long it takes. For what?" Mac looked at her, really looked at her, at the hope fighting with fear in her eyes. "To make sure you're safe," he said. Then he walked out before she could respond. The barn was dark, smelled like old hay and mouse droppings. But it had 4 walls and a roof that mostly kept out rain. Mac climbed the ladder to the loft. His bedroll, lay down, stared up at the rafters. What the hell was he doing? He'd come here to escape, to fade away, to finish dying, not to play protector for a woman he'd just met, a woman who was being hunted by men with money and power and no conscience. He should leave, first light, pack his gear, ride back to the mountains. Let Ernest Wade find someone else. But the image of Willa sitting on that floor, too big for the furniture, too gentle for the world she'd been born into. His wife had been small, delicate, the kind of woman men wanted to protect. Willa was the opposite, and yet, she needed protecting just the same. Mac closed his eyes, tried to sleep. Failed. The night stretched on, stars wheeling overhead. Somewhere an owl called. The creek whispered secrets to the darkness. And Mac Brennan lay awake, thinking about a woman who stood 7.5 feet tall, who could lift timber beams and throw grown men, who made bread that smelled like home, who'd spent her childhood in a cage, who'd lost the only person who ever loved her, who was alone, just like him. Maybe that's what this was about, 2 broken people, finding each other in the wreckage. Maybe that was enough. He woke to the sound of hooves, still dark, pre-dawn. That gray hour when night starts losing its grip. Mac was on his feet before his brain fully caught up, hand on his knife. Moving to the barn door, 3 riders. Coming up the road from the east, not fast, not slow. The pace of men who had all the time in the world. Mac watched them through a crack in the barn wall. The lead rider was tall, lean, wore a long coat, despite the summer heat. Even from a distance, Mac could see the scar running down the left side of his face. The other 2 spread out, flanking, hands resting casual on their guns. Not travelers, hunters. Mac moved, fast, out of the barn. Across the yard to the house. The front door was unlocked. He slipped inside. Willa was already awake, standing by the window, staring out at the approaching riders. "You know them?" Mac asked, the one in front. "That's Dalton Kane." Her voice was tight, controlled, but Mac could hear the fear underneath. "He works for the Maddox brothers. How long have they been looking for you?" 4 years. "And they just found you now?" "Ernest must have." Willa stopped, swallowed. "When you bought the ranch, when the papers were filed, someone must have noticed." Mac cursed under his breath. The riders were close now. 50 yards. 40. They stopped at the fence. Dalton Kane dismounted, handed his reins to one of the others, walked toward the house, slow, confident. A man who'd done this before. He stopped 20 feet from the porch, called out, "Willa Ashford." His voice carried. Cold, flat. "I know you're in there." Willa stepped back from the window. Mac moved to the door, opened it, stepped out onto the porch. Dalton's eyes shifted to him, narrow, assessing. "And who are you?" Dalton asked. "Owner of this property." "Is that so? Bought it yesterday." Dalton smiled. Not friendly, not warm. The smile of a shark that's just smelled blood. "Must be your lucky day," Dalton said. "Buying a ranch with a squatter already living in it." "She's not a squatter. She's a resident, is that what she told you? Mac crossed his arms. What do you want? I want to talk to Miss Ashford. She doesn't want to talk to you. That's not really her choice. It is on my land. Dalton's smile faded. He looked at Mac, really looked, taking in the weathered face, the hard eyes, the stance of a man who'd been in fights and won. You don't know what you're stepping into, Dalton said. Then explain it to me. Miss Ashford is in possession of property that belongs to my employers. Documents. Papers. We'd like them back. What kind of documents? That's between us and her. Mac shrugged. Then I guess you're out of luck. One of the mounted men shifted. His hand moving toward his gun. Dalton raised a hand. Stopping him. Listen, friend, Dalton said. Voice reasonable now. Friendly even. I don't know what story she told you, but that woman is a thief. She's been hiding stolen property for 4 years. We're just here to reclaim what's ours. You have proof, papers, documents, something that says she stole from you. Dalton's jaw tightened. We don't need proof. We have the word of Thomas Maddox himself. And who's Thomas Maddox? The most powerful man in this territory? Mac nodded slowly. Well, I don't know any Thomas Maddox. And I don't take kindly to armed men on my property making demands. This isn't a demand. It's a courtesy. Then here's my courtesy back. Mac's hand dropped to his belt, close to his knife. Get off my land. The two mounted men tensed. Dalton didn't move. You're making a mistake, he said. Won't be my first. You don't even know her. I know she's scared of you. That's enough. Dalton stared at Mac, long and hard. Reading him the way Mac had read Willa. Then he turned, walked back to his horse. Mounted, but he didn't ride away. You've got 1 day, Dalton called out. 1 day to reconsider after that. The Maddox brothers come themselves. And they don't ask nicely. He wheeled his horse around. The 3 riders disappeared into the gray dawn. Mac stood on the porch, watching until they were gone. Then he went back inside. Willa was sitting on the floor, hugging her knees. Shaking. They know, she whispered. They finally know where I am. Mac closed the door, locked it. How many men can the Maddox brothers bring, he asked. As many as they want. Guess 20, maybe more. Mac walked to the window, looked out at the empty road. 20 men. Against him and a woman who'd never been in a fight. The smart move was to run. Pack what they could carry. Head for the mountains. Lose themselves in the wilderness until the Maddox brothers gave up. But men like that didn't give up, and running only delayed the inevitable. We're staying, Mac said. Willa looked up at him. What? We're staying. Here, on this land. They'll kill us, maybe. Then why? Because I made a promise. Mac turned to face her. I promised Ernest Wade I'd protect you. And I keep my promises, Willa stood, slowly. Until she towered over him. You're insane, she said. Probably. You're going to get yourself killed. That was always the plan. Mac smiled, small, sad. Just thought I'd do it somewhere quieter. Willa stared at him, then, impossibly. She laughed, a short, sharp sound, like she couldn't quite believe what she was hearing. You're really going to fight them, she said. We're going to fight them. I told you. I've never. Then you'll learn. Mac walked to the fireplace, looked at the loose stone where Willa had hidden the documents. First thing we do, he said. We make copies of those papers, hide them somewhere safe. Somewhere off this property. Why? Because if this goes bad, if we don't make it, I want someone to know the truth. Willa nodded. Ernest's dying. We need someone else. Who? Mac thought. A lawman. Someone outside the Maddox brothers' reach. There's a federal marshal in Helena, too far. And you said they have people there, then who? Mac turned. We'll figure it out. But right now we prepare. For what? For war. They spent the day fortifying. Mac moved through the house, like a man surveying a battlefield, which in a way he was, the windows. Too many. Too exposed. He boarded up the ones on the ground floor, left only narrow gaps to see through. To shoot through if it came to that, the doors, front and back, both solid. But the locks were flimsy. He reinforced them. Heavy timber braced against the inside. Wouldn't stop a determined attack, but it would slow them down. Willa worked beside him. And Mac learned something. She was strong. Not just tall. Not just big. Strong like nothing he'd ever seen. She lifted timber beams he would have needed 2 men to move. Hammered nails through oak like it was pine. Worked for hours without stopping. At one point she carried an entire water barrel from the creek to the house, alone. Mac stopped what he was doing. Watched her. "How much can you lift?" he asked. Willa set the barrel down. Wiped sweat from her forehead. "I don't know. I've never tested it, guess," she thought. "I moved a wagon once. By myself. To change a wheel, a loaded wagon. Empty, but still. It was heavy." Mac nodded. "That's useful, is it? When they come. And they will come. We're going to use every advantage we have. I'm not an advantage. I'm a target. You're both." Willa looked away. "I don't want you to die because of me. I'm not dying because of you." Mac hammered another board into place. "I'm dying because I choose to." "There's a difference." "Is there?" He stopped. Looked at her. "8 years ago I lost everything," he said. "My wife, my daughter. Burned alive while I was off hunting in the mountains. By the time I got back there was nothing left but ash." Willa's expression softened. "I'm sorry, don't be. It was my fault. I should have been there. You couldn't have known. I should have been there." Mac's voice went hard. "I spent 8 years punishing myself, living like a ghost, waiting to die. And then Ernest Wade showed up at my camp 2 weeks ago. Told me about you. Told me he needed help. Why did you agree?" Mac hammered another nail. "Because I'm tired of waiting. If I'm going to die anyway. Might as well die doing something that matters, protecting a freak. Protecting a woman who deserves better than what the world gave her." Willa went very still. Mac kept working. After a moment, she picked up her hammer. They worked in silence until the sun started setting. The house transformed around them. What had been a home became a fortress. Boarded windows. Reinforced doors. Water stored. Ammunition counted. Everything they needed to survive a siege, or die trying. As twilight gathered, Mac walked the perimeter, checking sightlines, identifying weak points, planning fallback positions. Willa followed. Silent, learning. "They'll come from the east," Mac said, pointing down the road. "It's the only approach wide enough for horses. What if they split up, come from all sides?" "Then we're dead," Mac said it matter of fact. "No fear, just truth. We can't defend against a coordinated assault. So we make them come at us head-on." "How?" Mac looked at the tall grass flanking the road. "Dry. Perfect kindling fire," he said. Dinner was quiet again. But a different kind of quiet. More comfortable. Less afraid. Willa had made bread. Fresh. The smell filling the house. Mac ate 3 pieces. "You're good at this," he said. "My father taught me." He said cooking is chemistry. And chemistry is precision. He was a smart man. He bowled down. Willa set her bowl down, looked at Mac. "Can I ask you something?" She said. "You can ask. Why aren't you afraid of me?" Mac raised an eyebrow. "Should I be? Most people are. They see me and they think. Monster. Freak. Dangerous. I see someone who's been hurt. And who's survived anyway, that's all. That's everything." Willa looked away, blinking fast, trying not to cry. Mac stood, carried his bowl to the wash basin. "I'm sleeping in the barn again," he said. "You don't have to, I know." He walked to the door. "Stopped, Willa?" "Yes, tomorrow, when I ask you to do something, anything. You do it. No questions, no hesitation." "Understood?" She nodded. Mac opened the door, stepped into the night. The stars were out, bright, cold. Indifferent, he walked to the barn, climbed to the loft, lay down, stared at the ceiling. Tomorrow the war would start, and Mac Brennan, the man who'd been dead for 8 years, would finally have a reason to live, even if only for a day. But sleep wouldn't come. His mind kept returning to the house, to Willa, to the way she'd looked when he said she deserved better. Like she'd never heard those words before, like they were water to someone dying of thirst. Mac had spent 8 years running from connection, from feeling, from anything that might remind him he was still alive. And now, here he was, about to die for a woman he barely knew, a woman the world had discarded, A woman who stood 7.5 feet tall and could break him with her bare hands. A woman who baked bread and cried when someone was kind. Maybe this was what redemption looked like. Not grand gestures, not heroic sacrifices, just showing up, standing your ground, refusing to let another innocent person be destroyed by evil men. Mac closed his eyes. This time, sleep came, and with it, dreams of fire. But for the first time in 8 years, the fire didn't consume him, it tempered him, made him strong. Dawn came like a warning, red sky, blood red. The kind old sailors said meant storms. Mac was already awake, had been for hours, standing at the barn door, watching the road. No riders yet, but they'd come. He could feel it in his bones. That electric tension before violence. Like the air before lightning strikes, he walked to the house, knocked once. Willa opened the door. Already dressed, hair braided tight. Face pale but determined. Anything, she asked. Not yet. They said one day. They lied. Mac stepped inside. Men like that always lie. Could be today. Could be an hour from now. Could be they're already watching. Willa looked past him, toward the tree line. What do? We wait. And we prepare more. Mac moved to the table, spread out a rough sketch he'd drawn the night before: the ranch, the house, the barn, the creek, the road. They'll come from the east, he said. Same way Dalton came yesterday. It's the only road wide enough for horses. What if they come through the trees? Then we're dead, Mac said it flat. Honest. We can't defend against attacks from all sides, so we make them come at us head on. Willa studied the map. How? Fire? What? Mac pointed to the dry grass on either side of the road. We burn it, create a corridor. Force them to come straight up the middle where we can see them. That's insane. You have a better idea? Silence. Mac folded the map. We do it this morning, before they arrive. You take the south side. I'll take the north. We light it, let it burn. Then we fall back to the house. And if the fire spreads to the house? It won't. The wind's blowing east. Away from us, you hope? I know. Mac looked at her. Do you trust me? Willa hesitated, then nodded. Good. Mac walked to the door. Get your father's documents. The real ones. We're hiding them where? Creek. Wrapped in oilcloth. Buried under the rocks. If this goes bad, if we don't make it, someone will find them eventually. Willa went to the fireplace, removed the loose stone, pulled out the leather pouchy, handed it to Mac. Their fingers touched, just for a second, but Mac felt it. The warmth, the life. 8 years he'd been cold, dead inside, and now. This, he pulled his hand back, focused on the pouch. I'll be back in 10 minutes, he said. He was back in 8. The documents were safe, buried, hidden. Now they just had to survive long enough for someone to find them. They lit the grass at mid-morning. Mac on the north side of the road. Willa on the south. Torches made from kerosene-soaked rags tied to sticks. The fire caught fast, hungry, the dry grass going up like paper. Smoke rose, black and thick, visible for miles. Which was the point? Let the Maddox brothers see. Let them know someone was ready, someone was waiting. Mac watched the flames spread, controlled, burning exactly where he wanted, creating a path. A killing field across the road. Willa stood silhouetted against the fire. Enormous, powerful, like something out of myth. Mac felt something shift in his chest, some ice he'd thought would never melt. He pushed it down, focused. The fire burned for 20 minutes, then died, left behind scorched earth, black, smoking. A corridor of ash leading straight to the house. Mac crossed to Willa's side. Now, what? She asked. Now we wait. They didn't wait long. The riders appeared at noon, 9 of them, Dalton Kane, in front. The same 2 men from yesterday flanking him. 6 more behind. They stopped at the edge of the burned grass, staring, assessing. Dalton dismounted. Walked forward slowly. Stopped 50 yards from the house. Interesting strategy, he called out. Burning your own land. Mac stepped onto the porch, rifle in hand, not aimed. Not yet. Seemed like a good idea, Mac said. Did it now. Cleared out the rats. Dalton smiled. Cold. You've got spirit. I'll give you that. And you've got 9 men. Still not enough. Not enough for what? To take this house. Dalton's smile widened. Is that a challenge? It's a fact. One of the men behind Dalton shifted. Hand moving toward his gun, Dalton raised a hand. Stopping him, let me make something clear, Dalton said. Voice pleasant, conversational. We don't want to kill you. We don't want bloodshed. We just want what belongs to our employers. And what's that? Documents, papers, proof of ownership to a certain mining claim. Don't have them. We know Miss Ashford does. She says they belong to her father. Her father's dead. Dead men don't own property. Mac raised the rifle. Slow, deliberate. Aimed it at Dalton's chest. This conversation is over, Mac said. The 9 men tensed, hands dropping to guns. Really waiting for the order, Dalton didn't move. Just stood there, staring at Mac. Reading him, then he stepped back. You've got until sunset, Dalton said. After that, we cut off your water. We surround this house. And we wait. Eventually you'll have to come out, maybe. There's no maybe about it, Dalton turned. Walked back to his horse. Mounted. Think about it. Think about whether she's worth dying for. He wheeled his horse around. The 9 riders disappeared back down the road. Mac lowered the rifle. Went inside. Willa was standing by the window, shaking. They're not attacking? She asked. Not yet, why not? Because they want us desperate first. Thirsty, hungry, afraid, I'm already afraid. Mac set the rifle against the wall. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. How can you be so calm? I'm not. Mac walked to the water barrel they'd filled yesterday, checked the level. Still full. But panic doesn't help. Strategy does. What's the strategy? Survive until help arrives. What help? Mac didn't answer, because he didn't know. But he also didn't tell her the truth, that they were alone, that Ernest Wade was dying, that no help was coming, that their only chance was to hold out long enough for the Maddox brothers to give up. Or die trying. They took turns keeping watch. Mac took the first hood shift, midnight to dawn. Willa slept on the floor near the fireplace, wrapped in blankets, her breathing slow and steady. Mac sat by the window, rifle across his knees. Watch. The moon was half full, bright enough to see the road, the burned grass, the tree line. Nothing moved, but you could feel them out there. Watching back, waiting. Around 3 in the morning, Willa woke, sat up, rubbed her eyes. Anything? She whispered. No, she stood, stretched, her head nearly touching the ceiling beams. I can take over, she said. Not yet. You need to sleep. I'll sleep when I'm dead. Willa walked to the window beside him. Looked out. Do you think Ernest is okay? She asked. No, she looked at him sharply. He's dying, Mac said. You told me that. Cancer. 6 months. Maybe less, I meant. Do you think Dalton went after him? Probably. Willa's hands curled into fists. He's just an old man. He didn't do anything. He helped you. That's enough, silence. Willa sat down against the wall, drew her knees up, wrapped her arms around them. This is my fault, she said. No, if I'd just run, if I'd left years ago, you'd be dead. Mac didn't look at her, kept his eyes on the window. They'd have found you, taken the documents, killed you, and your father's murder would have meant nothing. It already means nothing. Not to you, it doesn't. Willa rested her chin on her knees. You sound like him, my father, he used to say. The only thing evil needs to win is for good people to do nothing. He was right, but what good am I doing? I'm just existing. Hiding, like an animal. Mac finally looked at her. You're surviving. That's more than most people can say. Is it enough? It has to be. Willa closed her eyes. I'm tired of surviving. I want to live. Then we'll make sure you do. How? Mac turned back to the window. I haven't figured that part out yet, despite everything. Willa smiled, small, sad. But real. They sat in silence for a while. Then Willa spoke again. Macac? Yes? Why are you really doing this? He was quiet for a long moment. Because 8 years ago I had a choice, he said finally. Go hunting. Or stay home with my family. I chose wrong, and they died. And I've been dying ever since. You think saving me will fix that? No, Mac's voice was soft. But maybe, just maybe, it'll mean something. Willa stood, walked over to him, sat down on the floor beside his chair. This close he could feel her warmth, her presence. Solid, Real. It already means something, she said. Mac didn't answer. Just kept watching the window, waiting for the dawn, or the enemy, whichever came first. Dawn of the second day brought news, bad news. The creek had stopped running. Mac discovered it when he went to refill the water barrel. The creek bed was dry. Just mud and rocks. He walked upstream, found the dam logs, branches, packed earth, built sometime during the night, diverting the water away from the ranch. Professional work, efficient. Mac stood there staring at it. They had water for maybe 2 days, 3 if they rationed. After that, he walked back to the house. Willa was making breakfast, eggs. The last of the bread. We have a problem, Mac said. She looked up. He told her. The color drained from her face. What do? We ration. 1 cup per person per day. No washing. No cooking with water. We make it last. That's not enough. Not in this heat. It'll have to be. Willa set down the pan. How long until help comes? And if it doesn't? Mac didn't answer, because they both knew without water. In summer, in Montana heat, 3 days. Maybe 4, then dehydration. Weakness, death. The Maddox brothers didn't need to attack. They just needed to wait. The old man came that night, stumbling, bleeding. Mac saw him first. A shadow moving through the burned grass, weaving, falling, getting up again. Stay here, Mac told Willa. He went out, rifle ready. As he got closer, he recognized the shape. Ernest Wade. Mac ran, caught the old man just as he collapsed. Easy. Easy. I've got you. Ernest's face was a mess. Split lip, black eye, blood crusted in his white hair. They came, Ernest gasped. Dalton. And others. Wanted to know where you were. Did you tell them? No. Mac dragged Ernest toward the house. The old man was light, too light, like he was already mostly bones. Willa met them at the door. Her eyes went wide. Oh, God. Ernest. Together they got him inside, laid him on the floor near the fireplace. Willa knelt beside him, gentle despite her size, checked his injuries. Broken ribs, she said. Maybe internal bleeding. I'm fine, Ernest wheezed. Just need to rest. You need a doctor. No doctors. Ernest grabbed her wrist, his grip weak but insistent. Listen. I sent a letter. Before they came. Mac leaned in. A letter to who? Sheriff Crane. Fort Benton. How long ago? 3 days before I sold you the ranch. I knew this would happen. Mac did the math. Fort Benton was 50 miles north. 3 days. The letter should have arrived. The sheriff could be on his way or not. Letters got lost. Sheriffs had other priorities. Did you tell Crane everything? Mac asked. Everything. About Willa, about the Maddox brothers, about the mine. Sent him. Copies of the documents. Copies? Ernest nodded weakly. I made them before, just in case. Willa's eyes filled with tears. You foolish old man. You should have run. Too late. For running, Ernest coughed, blood on his lips, but not too late. For justice, he closed his eyes, went still. Willa pressed her fingers to his neck. He's alive, she said. Barely. Max stood, walked to the window, looked out at the darkness. Dalton and his men were out there, waiting, watching. Now they knew Ernest had been here. Now they knew about the letter, which meant they're going to attack tonight, Max said. Willa looked up. What? They can't wait anymore. If that letter reaches the sheriff, if Crane comes with deputies, it's over for them. Then we have to leave. Get Ernest to a doctor. Run. We'd never make it. They'd shoot us down before we got a mile. Then what? Mac checked his rifle, counted his ammunition. 40 rounds, agonist, 9 men. Not good odds, but not impossible. We hold, he said. We hold until Crane arrives. And if he doesn't? Mac looked at her, didn't answer, because they both knew if Crane didn't come, they were dead. They came at midnight, no warning, no shouting, just gunfire, bullets punching through the boarded windows, splintering wood, shattering glass. Mac hit the floor, rolled, came up beside the window. Restored fire outside. Muzzle flashes. Men moving in the darkness. More shots. A bullet sang past Mac's ear. So close, he felt the heat. He fired again. Heard a scream. One down, Willa, he shouted. Stay low. She was crouched beside Ernest, shielding the old man with her body. Another volley of gunfire. The front door shuddered. Someone was trying to break it down. Mac aimed. Fired through the door. The pounding stopped. Another scream, 2 down. But the gunfire didn't stop. They were pouring it on now. Round after round, trying to pin Mac down, trying to keep him from shooting back. And it was working. He couldn't see them, couldn't aim, could barely breathe through the gun smoke filling the room. Then an explosion, the back door blew inward, hinges tearing free. Wood flying. 2 men rushed in. Mac spun. Fired, missed. The first man raised his gun, aimed at Mac. And Willa moved. God, she moved fast. For someone so big, so tall, she crossed the room in 3 strides. Grabbed the man by his coat, lifted him. Actually lifted him off the ground. And threw him. He flew backward. Crashed into the second man. Both of them went down in a tangle of limbs. Mac fired twice. They didn't get up. Get back, Mac shouted at Willa. She didn't listen. Grabbed the overturned table. 6 feet of solid oak. Lifted it like it weighed nothing. Carried it to the blown door. Wedged it in place, a makeshift barricade. More gunfire from outside. But the assault had stopped. For now, Mac reloaded. Hands shaking. Not from fear, from adrenaline. You okay? He called to Willa. I'm fine, Ernest. Still alive. Mac risked a look out the window. The attackers had fallen back. Regrouping. 3 bodies lay in the yard, which meant 6 left, plus Dalton. 7 against 2, better odds. But still bad. They'll come again, Mac said. Be ready, Willa nodded. Her hands were shaking now too, but her eyes were fire. And Mac realized. This woman, this gentle giant who baked bread and hid from the world, she was a warrior. She just didn't know it yet. They didn't attack again that night. When dawn came, Mac counted bodies, 3 in the yard, 2 inside, 5 total, which meant 4 left including Dalton. He stepped onto the porch, rifle ready. The bodies were gone. Dalton's men had taken them during the night. Smart. Deny your enemy the satisfaction of seeing his handiwork. Mac went back inside. Willa was giving Ernest water, 1 precious cup, held to his cracked lips. The old man drank, coughed. Drank again. Thank you, he whispered. Save your strength, Willa said. Ernest's eyes found Mac. Did we win? We survived. That's not the same thing. Close enough. Mac knelt beside him. Ernest, how certain are you that Crane got your letter? Certain. I paid. Double postage. Marked it. Urgent? And you trust him? With my life, Ernest coughed. More blood. He's an honest man in a territory full of thieves. How long until he gets here? If he rode. The moment he got the letter. 2 days, maybe less. Mac did the math. Letter sent 3 days ago. Crane reads it. Gathers deputies. Rides out. They could arrive today, or tomorrow, or never. We need to hold 1 more day, Mac said to Willa. She looked at the water barrel, nearly empty now. I don't know if we can, she said. We don't have a choice, Mac stood. Walked to the window. Outside the sun was rising, burning away the mist, revealing the scorched earth, the empty road, no sign of Dalton or his men. But they were out there, watching, waiting. Mac turned back to Willa. We're going to make it, he said. But even he didn't believe it. Dalton came alone at noon, white flag tied to a stick. Mac watched from the window as the man walked slowly up the burned road, stopped 20 yards out. I want to talk, Dalton called. Mac didn't move. Just talk. Dalton insisted. No shooting. No tricks. Mac looked at Willa. She shook her head. It's a trap, she said probably. Then don't go. But Mac was already moving, rifle in hand, out the door, down the porch steps. He stopped 10 yards from Dalton. Talk, Mac said. Dalton looked tired, worn. His coat was dusty, his face unshaven. You're a hard man to kill, Dalton said. I've had practice. You cost me 5 good men last night. You cost yourself 5 men. Could have ridden away any time. Dalton smiled. Weary. Could have. But orders are orders. From the Maddox brothers, from Thomas Maddox specifically. Dalton glanced back toward the tree line where his remaining men waited. He's not happy. Sent word this morning. Either I bring him those documents by sunset, or I don't come back at all. Sounds like a problem. It's your problem too? Dalton looked at the house. You're out of water. You're low on ammunition. You've got a dying old Man and a woman who can't fight. She did pretty well last night. Lucky throws. Won't save you in a real fight. Mac said nothing. Dalton stepped closer. Here's my offer. You give me the documents. I let you and the woman walk away. Hell, I'll even let you take Ernest. Get him to a doctor. And if I refuse, then we burn you out tonight. Pour kerosene around the house. Light it up. You'll have two choices. Burn alive. Or run outside where we'll shoot you down. Mac met his eyes. You'd really do that? I don't want to. But I will. Silence. The wind picked up, blowing dust across the burned grass. Mac thought about Willa, about Ernest, about the promise he'd made. Then he thought about his wife, his daughter, burning. Always burning in his memory? No, Mac said. Dalton's jaw tightened. No, the documents stay with us. You want them? Come take them. I'm trying to save your life. I didn't ask you to. Dalton stared at him, long and hard, then nodded slowly. So be it. He turned, walked back toward the trees, stopped halfway, called over his shoulder. For what it's worth, I respect you. You're brave. Stupid. But brave, and for what it's worth, Mac said. I think you're better than this. Dalton didn't answer, just kept walking. Disappeared into the trees. Mac went back inside. Willa was waiting. What did he say? She asked. He offered us a deal. What kind of deal? The kind we can't take. Understanding dawned in her eyes. They're going to burn us out tonight. Yes. She looked at Ernest, at the water barrel, at the boarded windows. We're going to die here, she said. Not a question. A statement Mac didn't argue, because she was probably right. They spent the afternoon preparing. Not for survival. For death. Mac wrote a letter, short. Simple. Explaining what happened, who was responsible, where the documents were hidden. He gave it to Willa. If I don't make it, he said. You take this, you run. Get to Fort Benton. Fine, Sheriff Crane, I'm not leaving you. You will if I tell you to. No. Her voice was steel. I spent 4 years running. I'm done, Willa, I'm done. She looked him in the eye. We live together. Or we die together. But I'm not running anymore, Mac wanted to argue. But looking at her, at the determination in her face, he realized she meant it. Okay, he said quietly. Okay. They sat in silence for a while. Then Willa spoke. Can I ask you something? Yes. Why are you really doing this? The truth. Mac was quiet for a long moment. Then, because 8 years ago I failed, he said. I failed the people I loved most, and I've been carrying that failure ever since. This won't fix it, I know. Then why? Because maybe, just maybe, if I can save one person, it'll matter. Tears welled in Willa's eyes. She reached out, her hand enormous next to his, but gentle, so gentle. She took his hand, held it. It already matters, she said. And Mac, for the first time in 8 years, believed her. The afternoon wore on. Shadows lengthened. The sun crept toward the horizon. Ernest stirred occasionally, murmuring, delirious with pain. Willa sat with him, held his hand, whispered comfort. Mac stood at the window, watching, waiting. Any moment now, any moment the attack would come. Fire, bullets, death. He was ready, had been ready for 8 years. But now he had something to die for, something more than guilt, more than punishment. He had purpose, and that made all the difference. As sunset approached, Ernest woke, gasped, grabbed Mac's arm. Listen, the old man wheezed. There's something. I didn't tell you. Save your strength. No time. Ernest pulled him closer. The mine. Willa's father's mine. There's a tunnel. Mac leaned in. From the mine to the creek. Emergency exit. In case of cave-ins. Where? Ernest told him. Coordinates. Landmarks. A hidden entrance behind a waterfall. 300 yards from here. North. You can get out tonight. Before they burn the house. Mac's mind raced an escape route. A way out. Why didn't you mention this before? He asked. Because the tunnel is dangerous. It could collapse any moment. How do you know about it? Henry showed me years ago. Made me promise to tell Willa. Only if. She had no other choice. Ernest's grip weakened. His breathing became labored. Shallow. Tell her, he whispered. Tell her. Her father loved her. Tell her she's not a monster. His eyes fluttered closed. His chest stopped moving. Willa pressed her fingers to his neck, held them there for a long moment, looked at Mac, shook her head. "He's gone," she whispered. "Ernest Wade. The man who'd kept her secret for 4 years. The man who'd brought Mac to save her was dead." Willa closed his eyes gently, sat back, silent tears running down her face. Mac knelt beside her. "He died protecting you," he said quietly. "I know. He was brave. I know." They sat in silence, honoring the old man who'd given everything. Mac walked to the window, looked out at the gathering darkness. "There's a tunnel," he said. Willa looked up. "What?" He told her what Ernest had said. When he finished, she was standing. "We can escape," she said. "Yes, tonight. Before they attack, yes." Willa looked at Ernest's body, then at Mac. "But we'd have to leave him here." "To burn?" Mac nodded. "I can't do that." Willa said, "Neither can I." "Then what?" Mac turned to face her. "We take him with us, through an unstable tunnel that could collapse?" "Yes." "While being hunted by men with guns?" "Yes." Willa stared at him, then, incredibly, she laughed. "You really are insane," she said. "Probably. And I'm just as insane for agreeing. Probably." She wiped her tears, squared her shoulders. "When do we leave?" Mac looked out the window. The sun was almost gone now, he said. They wrapped Ernest's body in blankets. Willa carried him, his weight nothing to her. Mac took the rifle, the ammunition, what little water they had left. They went out the back, the blown door, the makeshift barricade. Into the darkness, the moon was rising, quarter full. Just enough light to see by. Mac led the way, north, toward the creek, toward the mine, behind them a shout. Then gunfire. Dalton's men had seen them. "Run!" Mac shouted. Willa ran. God, she could run, despite her size. Despite carrying Ernest's body, she moved like wind through the grass. Mac followed, firing backward, not aiming, just keeping the pursuers at bay. More shouts, the sound of horses. They were being hunted now, truly hunted. They reached the creek, dry, bed, just rocks. Mac looked around, searching for the waterfall Ernest had mentioned. There upstream, hidden behind an outcropping of stone. This way. They scrambled over rocks, slipping, sliding. Behind them, the horses were getting closer. They reached the waterfall, which wasn't a waterfall anymore, just a trickle. But behind it, a gap in the rocks, a tunnel, narrow, dark, descending into the earth. "Inside," Mac ordered. Willa hesitated. "I won't fit." "You will." "Go," she ducked, squeezed through the gap. Ernest's body held tight against her chest, disappeared into darkness. Mac followed. The tunnel was tight, so tight. He had to turn sideways, shuffle, the rock scraping his back and chest behind him. Voices. "They went down here. Could be a trap." "Get torches." Mac kept moving, following the sound of Willa ahead. The tunnel descended, steeper, darker, then a rumble. The rock shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. "Mac!" Willa's voice. "Afraid. Keep moving." Another rumble, louder. The tunnel was collapsing. "Run!" Mac screamed. He ran, bent double, hands on the walls, feet slipping on loose stone behind him. The sound of rock falling, crashing, sealing the entrance. He ran faster. The tunnel opened up ahead, wider, taller. He burst into a cavern. Willa was there, on her knees, gasping for breath. Ernest's body beside her. Mac bent over, hands on his knees, lungs burning. "We made it," he gasped. "Did we?" Mac looked back. The tunnel they'd come through was gone, sealed. Tons of rock where the entrance had been. "We're trapped," Willa said. Mac looked around the cavern. Massive, cathedral-sized. And there, on the far wall, a shaft going up, with ladder rungs hammered into the rock. "No," Mac said. "We're not trapped," he pointed to the ladder. "We're going up." The climb took an hour. Willa went first, Ernest's body tied to her back with rope. Mac followed. The rungs were old, rusty. Some of them crumbled when touched, but they held, barely. At the top they emerged into a mine shaft to stone, shored up with timber beams, railroad tracks on the floor, for ore carts. And there, on the walls, veins of gold, thick as Mac's arm, gleaming in the lamplight. "This is it," Willa whispered. "My father's mine." Mac touched the gold. Cold, heavy, worth a fortune, worth killing for. No wonder the Maddox brothers wanted this, he said. Willa wasn't looking at the gold. She was looking at something else. A small alcove carved into the rock, with a bedroll, a lantern, books, a place where someone had lived, my father's, she said. He used to sleep here sometimes. When the work ran late, she set Ernest's body down gently, walked to the alcove, picked up one of the books, opened it. And a piece of paper fell out. She picked it up, read it. Her hand started shaking. Mac, he came over. It was a note. Short. In her father's handwriting, Willa, if you're reading this, you found the mine. You're safe. The tunnel will get you out if you need it. I'm proud of you, always. Father, she pressed it to her chest and cried. Mac looked away, gave her the moment when she finally spoke. Her voice was thick. He knew, she said. He knew they'd kill him. And he still fought. He fought for you. And I've been hiding ever since. You've been surviving. There's a difference. Willa folded the letter carefully, put it in her pocket. No more hiding, she said. What? I'm done hiding. Done running. She looked at Mac. Ernest sent that letter to Sheriff Crane. Then help is coming, maybe, then we wait. Right here in this mine. And when Crane arrives, we show him everything. Mac thought about it. The mine was defensible. Water from the underground spring. Food. They had none, but they could survive a few days without it. Okay, he said. We wait. Willa nodded. Then she looked at Ernest's body. We should bury him, she said. Where? She pointed to the alcove. Her father's space, there. With my father, they were friends. They should rest together. Mac helped her dig. The floor was soft, easy to work. They laid Ernest Wade to rest in the mine he'd helped protect, covered him with earth and stone, and Willa spoke a prayer. Sybil, honest, thank you for being brave when I couldn't. Thank you for keeping me safe. Rest now. Your work is done, Mac added his own, silently. Thank you for giving me a reason to live. They stood in silence for a moment. Then Willa spoke. How long do you think we have? Mac didn't know, but he lied anyway. Long enough. Day one in the mine was quiet. They explored. Found 3 more shafts, all rich with gold. Found the underground fall spring. Clean water, cold and sweet. Found where Willa's father had stored supplies, canned goods, matches. Blankets enough to last weeks if needed. They also found something else on the wall of the main shaft. Carved into the stone, a family tree. Henry Ashford, born 1825, died 1870, father, healer, friend, and below it. Willa Ashford, born 1848, daughter, survivor, giant. Willa stood staring at it. He carved this, she asked. Mac examined the lettering. Looks like it, giant, she touched the word. He called me a giant, not a freak. He was proud of you, how can you tell? Because he didn't try to hide what you are. He celebrated it. Willa was quiet for a long time. Then Mac, yes, I'm glad you stayed. I'm glad I did too. Mac turned to face her. My wife, he said. Her name was Sarah. She was small, barely 5 feet tall. But she had the biggest heart I've ever known. I'm sorry you lost her. So am I. Mac looked at the carving on the wall. But if she were here, if she could see what I've done, helping you, fighting for you. I think she'd be proud, you think? I know, Willa smiled. Real true, then I'm glad I met you. Even if it means we might die in this mine. Mac smiled back. I'm glad I met you too. They sat in comfortable silence waiting. For whatever came next, day 2 passed slowly. No sounds from above. No sign of Dalton or his men, just darkness. Silence. The steady drip of water from the spring. Mac and Willa talked. About everything. About nothing. About the lives they'd lost. The futures they'd imagined. About what they'd do if they survived. I'd rebuild the ranch, Willa said. Make it bigger. Better. A place where people could come. People like me. People who don't fit. An orphanage, Mac said. More than that. A home. That's a good dream. What's yours? Mac thought. I don't know anymore. I spent 8 years wanting to die. I don't know how to want to live, then learn how. Willa looked at him. By staying. By helping me build that home. By teaching those children. By choosing life, every day. Until it becomes natural again. Mac felt something break inside him, some wall he'd built. Some defense. I'd like that, he said. Then it's settled. When we get out of here. We build it together, together. They shook on it. Her enormous hand swallowing his. A promise, a future, if they survived. It came on the afternoon of the third day. A sound, distant. Muffled but unmistakable. Voices. Mac was on his feet instantly. Do you hear that? He whispered. Willa nodded. Someone's up there. They moved to the base of the main shaft, the one that led up to the surface. The voices were clearer now. Multiple people, arguing, and then a gunshot. Mac and Willa looked at each other. Stay here, Mac said. Like hell, Willa. I'm not staying here while you walk into danger. Mac wanted to argue, but the look on her face stopped him. Fine. But you stay behind me. They climbed. Up the shaft. Toward the voices. Toward the light filtering down from above. The climb seemed to take forever. Mac's heart pounding. Rifle ready. Another gunshot. Then shouting, drop your weapons. You drop yours. I'm a federal officer. Mac's breath caught. Federal officer Sheriff Crane. He had to be. They reached the top of the shaft, emerged into daylight that was blinding after 3 days of darkness. Mac blinked, shielded his eyes. When his vision cleared, he saw them. 2 groups of men on one side. Dalton Kane and 3 others. Guns drawn, faces desperate on the other side. 6 men wearing badges, led by a tall man with gray hair and a weathered face. Sheriff Tobias Crane. Between them, 20 feet of open ground, a standoff. Crane saw Mac first. His eyes widened. He demanded. Mac Brennan. I'm the one protecting Willa Ashford. Crane's expression shifted. The mountain man from Ernest Wade's letter? That's me. Where's Miss Ashford? Before Mac could answer, Willa emerged from the shaft behind him, and every man there stopped breathing. Because Willa, in lamplight, was impressive. Willa in full daylight was mythical, 7.5 feet of woman, climbing out of the earth like something from legend. Dalton recovered first, Sheriff. That woman is in possession of stolen property. That woman, Crane said coldly, is the victim. You're the thief. We have legal documents. Forged documents? Crane pulled papers from his coat. I have the real ones right here, courtesy of Ernest Wade and Henry Ashford. Dalton's face went white. You can't prove? I can prove everything, Crane gestured to his deputies. Arrest them. All of them. Murder. Fraud. Attempted murder. The list is long. Dalton's men shifted nervously, looking at each other, looking for a way out. Don't even think about it, one of the deputies said. Rifle aimed. Steady. One by one, Dalton's men lowered their weapons, dropped them on the ground, raised their hands, all except Dalton. He still held his gun, still aimed it at Crane. You don't understand, Dalton said. Voice tight. The Maddox brothers. They'll kill me if I don't bring them those documents. Then you should have picked better employers, Crane said. I didn't have a choice. Everyone has a choice. Dalton's hand trembled. Mac could see it. The man was calculating, weighing his options. Go to prison, or die trying to escape. Don't do it, Mac said quietly. Dalton looked at him. You don't know what they're capable of. I know what you're capable of. And I know this doesn't have to end badly, doesn't it? No, Dalton's jaw worked, then slowly. He lowered his gun, let it fall from his fingers, raised his hands. Smart choice, Crane said. He nodded to his deputies. They moved in, cuffed Dalton and his men, led them away to horses waiting at the tree line. Crane walked over to Mac and Willa. Up close, he was older than Mac had thought. 55 at least, but his eyes were sharp. Intelligent. You two look like hell, he said. We've had a rough few days, Mac replied. I'll bet. Crane turned to Willa. Miss Ashford. I'm Sheriff Tobias Crane. I knew your father. Willa's eyes filled with tears. You did? Good man. Honest. He wrote to me about 6 months before he died. Told me he'd found gold. Told me he was worried about the Maddox brothers. Why didn't you help him? I tried. But by the time I got his letter and rode out here, he was already dead. Crane's face hardened. The local sheriff ruled it an accident. I tried to investigate, but I had no jurisdiction. No proof, and now I have proof. Ernest Wade's letter. Your father's documents. Witness testimony. Crane smiled grimly. The Maddox brothers are finished. Willa swayed. Mac caught her, held her steady. Easy, he said. I'm fine. I'm just. She laughed, crying and laughing at the same time. I'm free. After 4 years, I'm finally free. Crane watched them with something like approval in his eyes. You did good, both of you. Held out long enough for justice to arrive. We had help, Mac said. Ernest Wade? Yes, he was a good man too. Where is he? Mac's expression darkened. Dead. Dalton's men beat him. He died 2 days ago. Crane removed his hat, held it to his chest. Damn shame. He deserved better. He got what he wanted, Willa said. He got to see us safe before he died. Crane nodded, replaced his hat. Come on. Let's get you out of this mine. You look like you need food, water, and about a week of sleep. They rode to Fort Benton that afternoon. Crane insisted, said they needed medical attention, rest, and protection until the trial. Mac and Willa rode together, her on a specially reinforced wagon, him on horseback beside her. The journey took 2 days. During that time, Crane told them everything. How Ernest's letter had arrived 4 days ago. How Crane had immediately gathered his best deputies. How they'd ridden hard for Blackwater Ranch. How they'd arrived to find the house burned to the ground. How they'd tracked Dalton's men to the mine. You two got lucky, Crane said. Another day and I might have missed you entirely. Wasn't luck, Mac said. Was timing. Call it what you want, you're alive. That's what matters. At Fort Benton, they were met by a doctor, old gruff, but competent. He examined them both, pronounced Mac dehydrated and malnourished but otherwise fine, pronounced Willa the same. Then he pulled Mac aside. That woman, the doctor said quietly. She's unusual, I noticed. I've never seen a case of gigantism that extreme. She should be dead by now. Heart failure, organ failure. Something, but she's not, no. She's remarkable, actually. Strong as an ox. Healthy as a horse. The doctor shook his head. I don't understand it. Maybe you're not supposed to. The doctor grunted. Maybe. 6 months later, the trial of Thomas and Clayton Maddox, held in Helena, Montana's capital. Biggest trial the territory had ever seen. Mac and Willa sat in the front row, watching, waiting. The evidence was overwhelming. Ernest Wade's testimony, delivered via his letter, Henry Ashford's documents, proving the Maddox brothers had forged their claim. Witness testimony from Silas Merrick, the old prospector who'd seen Thomas Maddox murder. Henry testimony from Dalton Kane, who'd turned state's evidence in exchange for a lighter sentence. The trial lasted 3 days. The jury deliberated for 2 hours. Guilty on all counts: murder, fraud, conspiracy, attempted murder. Thomas Maddox was sentenced to hang. Clayton Maddox was sentenced to 30 years in prison. Dalton Kane got 20 years. Justice, finally. After 4 long years, when the verdict was read, Willa broke down, sobbed into her hands. Mac put an arm around her, as much as he could reach. It's over, he said. I know, you can finally live, I know. She looked at him, tears streaming down her face, but smiling. Really smiling. Thank you, she said. For everything. You already thanked me. I'll keep thanking you, every day. For the rest of my life. Mac smiled back. I'll hold you to that. They returned to Blackwater Ranch in the spring. The house was gone, burned to the foundation just like Dalton had promised. But the land was still there. The creek was running again, the grass was growing. The bones were good. Mac and Willa stood looking at the ruins. We could rebuild, Mac said. Could we? Why not? It would take months. Years maybe, we've got time. Willa looked at him. We? Mac met her eyes. If you'll have me, I'll stay, help you rebuild. Run the ranch, as what? A partner? If that's what you want. Willa was quiet for a long moment. Then, I want more than a partner. Mac's heart stuttered. What do you want? I want, she hesitated. I want someone who sees me, not my size, not what I am, but who I am. I see you, I know. She smiled, soft, vulnerable. That's why I want you to stay. Mac stepped closer, took her hand, her enormous hand that could lift wagons and break men, held it gently. Then I'll stay, he said, for as long as you'll have me. Willa's eyes glistened. Forever. Forever, she smiled, took his hand. Then let's start building. They started with the barn, easier than the house, simpler. Mac did the framing, Willa did the heavy lifting. Together, they raised walls, set beams, hammered shingles. By summer the barn was finished. Next came the house. Bigger this time, taller ceilings, wider doors. Furniture built to Willa's scale. A home, not just a shelter, a real home. Mac worked from dawn to dusk. Willa worked beside him. And slowly by board, nail by nail, the house rose from the ashes. They finished in the fall, stood back to admire their work. 2 stories, solid oak. A porch that wrapped around 3 sides. Beautiful. It's perfect, Willa said. It's home. She looked at him. Yes, it is. That winter was hard. Snow came early, deep, cold enough to freeze the creek. But inside the house it was warm. Mac had built a fireplace, big enough to heat the whole first floor. They spent evenings there, him reading, her knitting. Comfortable silence. Occasionally, one of them would speak. Do you miss the mountains? Willa asked one night. Sometimes. Do you want to go back? Mac looked at her. No, why not? Because everything I need is here. Willa blushed. Actually blushed, after all this time. After everything they'd been through, she still blushed when he said things like that. You're a smooth talker. Mac Brennan. I'm an honest talker. Same thing. Not even close. She threw a ball of yarn at him. He caught it, threw it back. She caught it. And they both laughed, like children. Like people who'd forgotten how to be afraid. Spring brought visitors, Sheriff Crane, riding up the road with a younger man Mac didn't recognize. They dismounted. Crane tipped his hat. Mac. Willa. Hope we're not intruding. Never, Willa said. Come in. I'll make coffee. Inside, Crane introduced his companion. This is Deputy James Reed. He's taken over law enforcement in Silverstone. Reed was young, maybe 30. Earnest eyes. Firm handshake. Pleasure to meet you both, he said. I've heard a lot about what you did. We just survived, Mac said. You did more than that. You brought down the Maddox brothers. That's no small thing. Crane cleared his throat, actually. That's why we're here. Mac and Willa exchanged glances. What's wrong? Willa asked. Nothing's wrong. Crane pulled papers from his coat. I just wanted to deliver these personally. He handed them to Willa. She unfolded them wide. Her eyes went wide. This is the deed to my father's mine. Yours now, Crane said. Legal, certified. No one can take it from you? Willa's hands trembled. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. It's yours. It always was, Crane smiled. What you do with it is up to you. Willa looked at Mac. What should I do? Mac thought. What do you want to do? She was quiet for a long moment. Then, I want to sell it. What? The mine. I want to sell it. Use the money for something good. Like what? Willa's eyes lit up. A home. For children like me. Children who don't fit. Who get thrown away. She looked at Crane. Is that possible? Crane nodded slowly. It's your mine. Your money. You can do whatever you want with it. Then that's what I'll do. 3 years later. The Ashford Home for Orphans opened in the spring of 1875. Built on the grounds of Blackwater Ranch, funded entirely by the sale of Willa's mine. It housed 20 children, all shapes, all sizes, all backgrounds. Children who'd been abandoned, abused, forgotten, given a second chance. Willa ran it with fierce determination. Mac helped, teaching the older boys carpentry, hunting, survival skills. Willa taught everyone else, reading, writing. But arithmetic that. She taught them they weren't alone. One afternoon, Mac found her sitting with a young girl, maybe 9 years old, tall for her age, already being called names by the other children. Willa knelt down, eye to eye with the girl. Do you know what makes you special? Willa asked. The girl shook her head. Your size. Your strength. Your heart. Willa smiled. You're going to do great things. I know it. How do you know? Because I was like you once. And look at me now. The girl looked up, way up, at Willa, towering above her. You're not scared? The girl asked. Not anymore. How did you stop being scared? Willa glanced at Mac. I found someone who saw me for who I am. Not what I am, the girl thought about that. Do you think I'll find someone too? I know you will. Later that night, Mac and Willa sat on the porch, watching the sunset. Do you think she believed me? Willa asked. I think she wanted to. That's enough. Mac took her hand. You're doing good work here. We're doing good work, okay? They sat in silence. Comfortable? Clumped Mac. Yes, thank you. For staying, thank you for letting me. Willa leaned her head against his shoulder, which required her to slouch significantly. But she managed. I love you, she said. It was the first time either of them had said it out loud. Mac's breath caught. I love you too. Good, good. Mac smiled. Stood. I need to check the barn. One of the support beams looked loose this morning. Want help? I've got it. You stay with the children. He walked to the barn. The evening sun warm on his back. Inside he found it while checking the wall, tucked into a crack in the wood, a letter, sealed with wax. Addressed in familiar handwriting. To whoever finds this. Mac opened it. Read. My name is Henry Ashford. If you're reading this, I'm dead, and my daughter Willa is alone. I write this knowing that men will come for the gold I found. Knowing they'll kill me. Knowing they'll hunt her. But I also write this with hope. Hope that someone will find her. Someone brave. Someone kind. Someone who will see past her size to the beautiful soul beneath, if you are that person. Thank you. Thank you for protecting her when I couldn't. Thank you for giving her the life she deserves. Thank you for loving her. Because she deserves to be loved. More than anyone I've ever known. With gratitude, Henry Ashford. Mac read it twice, folded it carefully, walked back to the house. Willa was in the kitchen, baking bread for the children. Flour on her face. Smiling, Mac handed her the letter. I found this. She read it, tears streaming down her face. When she finished, she looked at Mac. He knew, she whispered. He knew someone would come. He had faith. In what? In people. In goodness. Mac pulled her close. In you. Willa held the letter to her chest. I miss him, I know. But I'm happy. I know that too. She kissed the top of his head. He kissed whatever part of her he could reach. Outside the children played, their laughter carrying on, the wind, the sound of second chances, the sound of home, and Mac Brennan. The man who'd been dead for 8 years was finally alive.